Thank you. Thank you. And first of all, I was here a couple months ago and listened to you, listened to the program that I participated in. But during that period of time, I said that you were the key to being able to make change happen. And I'm proud to say that I think, in part, you listened to those pleadings, and you have done a great job. And you've done a great job here in Washington. You've done a great job on the Hill, because you've taken your story to the members of Congress. And as most members of Congress are concerned, they listen. And when there's a just cause, they act. And you've helped to make that happen. Now, I would just like to take a couple minutes and talk about what has to happen. And there's a logic, and there's a whole logic to this foreign relations issues, and there's a logic to what happens in Congress. There's a logic to the funding that Congress controls and how things happen. First of all, the whole key, the things that we want to focus on, the things that we want to make happen, is to make sure that MEK is delisted. If that happens, it opens up, it takes away the whole issue of Ashraf, it takes away the issue of Camp Liberty, and gives people the opportunity to be repatriated to a country of their choice. And what causes that? What is the thing that blocks that today? The European Union has delisted, Great Britain's delisted, but the only other country that has not delisted is the United States of America. Now, we certainly are involved in the politics and the diplomacy of the Middle East. And certainly the situations in trying to find answers to nuclear problems in Iran, or nuclear challenges in Iran, our dealings with Iraq, certainly have to play into the Secretary of State's thinking. But when there's the liberty and life of human beings at stake, we have to make that exceptional focus on what is their well-being, what is the right thing to do, and to try to sacrifice a group of people's well-being, their life, their ability to have a decent life, humanitarian existence, should not be stopped by some political considerations in trying to massage a political or a diplomatic situation. And I'm afraid, and I don't know, because nobody really has laid out the real answers, but I'm afraid that's where we may be today. So what do we need to do? You need to continue to push, and we have a distinguished panel here. Your leadership has pushed the State Department. We have a federal decision by the federal court that says that the State Department has to make a decision. It doesn't say what that decision will be, but has to make a decision by October 1st. That's a plus in our favor. There's not a real logical argument out there against delisting the MEK. And matter of fact, there's a very, very logical argument out there for delisting the MEK. So we need to constantly keep that in front of the American people. Because the American people, especially in this time of election period of time, people are looking for issues to talk about. They want to understand that issues of justice, of humanitarian justice. And this will be focused. It will constantly be out there in the papers. So we need to keep this as a highlight, this issue going, especially in the next month before that October 1st deadline. Of course, if the State Department does not delist, then the courts will take action. And probably that action would be to delist. So you need to continually raise the humanitarian issues that exist at Camp Liberty. I watched that video today and constantly in amazement, the second time I've seen it, but it just amazes me every time. That here we're expecting people to live in these conditions, and there's no reason for it. They should be changed. The very conditions that they live in are being artificially imposed on these people, on your people, on the Iranians who have lived in Iraq and then are seeking their own personal freedom. What has happened? Well, the UN official made the revelation that he was coerced, and actually the truth is being hidden. The truth was being hidden to the reports to the UN in New York and to other entities. It's pretty astounding. And that needs to be constantly raised before the American people. And I think what else you have to look at is that what you've done very, very aptly, you should continue to do. You need to continue to have the interface with members of Congress. And I'm amazed at how well that has been accepted by Congress. The letters that have come from the leaders on foreign affairs from the House and the Senate, both parties, on a bipartisan basis, have made a real impact. They have made people sit up and take a real hard look at this. And I think it puts the State Department in a very, very tenuous situation in the reticence that they've had and not delisting the MEK. So that needs to continue to be done. It needs to be done now, especially in the months of September when the Congress is here. They're busy people. They have a lot of things on their mind. Every one of the members of the House of Representatives has a campaign on his mind, plus trying to get the work of Congress done, the appropriation process. But, it's interesting. The appropriation process is a place where you can have a lot of influence. Certainly, being in Congress, being involved in appropriations over the period of time, if the State Department doesn't do its job, the Congress can withhold part of the funding for the State Department. Sometimes it gets people's attention. Some people might call that blackmail but it's political, and it happens, and it's very effective. Also, the only time that I remember that Kofi Annan came to see me and asked my opinion about something is when we withheld funds to the UN. And so if the UN does not take action, if they are reticent about doing the right things, especially with the living conditions for the folks, the humanitarian issues in Camp Liberty, there can be a question about withholding certain funds of the UN. It's happened. It can be done. It's been done effectively in the past, and that's a way that you can actually get leverage to have something happen. But I think the most important thing now in the next 20 days is in your visitations to members of Congress and your communications with members of Congress. You have to remember, they're busy people. They got a lot of other things on their mind. This is a thing that's kind of outside their district, but they care about it. So if you deal with them in an honest, forthright, sincere manner, they'll listen to what you have to say. And they will act on both sides of the aisle, and they will take action. And they will put pressure both on the State Department to do the right thing, and they'll put pressure on the United Nations to do the right thing. They have the ability to do that. So your insistence on the Department of State to delist is very important. You need to continue to do that. You need to do it as a community, not just one or two people, but as a community. So you can do that back home when you talk to your members of Congress or your members of both in the Senate and the House, back home in your communities. And they're going to be very out there in high profile in the next month or 2 months because they're all going to be running for office. So you'll have access to them. So you have to have take that opportunity back home and talk to them about your feelings and your concerns about this in a very rational way. And they will listen and they will take action. The second thing is that you need to continue to insist that the Department of State delist, because that message also will carry forth. Finally, if you continue to work with Congress and tell the story, I think we'll get action. But it's a hard work. It's not easy. I don't promise that it will happen overnight. You've been diligent. You've stood up for the people of Ashraf and now the people that have gone into liberty. You've asked for certain conditions to be met. You have a constant insistence that happens, and that needs to continue now more than ever. So I ask you to do that. You know, there will be questions that will have to be asked. Why does the State Department insist on not delisting? Sometime, somebody's going to have to answer that. And that question has to be asked. Also, Congress can help you get the answers to these questions. You have to respectfully ask them to do that, and they will do it. And finally, when we talk about funding process, that's part of the natural political operation of what Congress does. So it's not, asking them to do something that's untoward or something that's not out of the regular action. That is a way of actually getting entities, especially bureaucracies, to get things done. Let me tell you a story, just in finish and very briefly. I was honored the last couple of weeks to go to London. Now, my background before I got into politics, I was a coach. I happened to be a wrestling coach. And of course, Iran has a great wrestling tradition. It was part of a great culture, part of your society's history. And all the years that I've been doing and watching Olympic sport, Iran has always had very good wrestling teams. I went into the arena in London, and almost a third of the crowd in the arena were Iranians. And I was amazed. And they were there to support their countrymen who had a very, very good team there. And so I figured most of these people certainly didn't travel from Iran here. So I started talking to these people. They didn't live in Iran. They're much like you. Their home is outside of Iran, but yet they have the love of their country, the love of their countrymen, and the love of the history and the culture. And they wanted to be there and show respect and support for what their country, the society and the background and the culture stood for. You are doing a great, great tribute to Iran and what Iran had been in the past and what Iran can be in the future. Don't give up the fight. Thank you.